Thank you very much as usual.
One moment here. I'm just going to admit everybody. And you're all set. Have a good meeting.
Thank you, Seth. You too. Or have a nice evening. Okay. Are we live? Okay, welcome to the September 25th meeting of the Scituate Conservation Commission. Just going to read a couple of quick things here. Town of Scituate, Mass's commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion. The Scituate Conservation Commission is committed to providing an environment of respect during our meetings. We ask that all members to interact in a polite and manner, even when there's disagreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized committees to feel welcome. Thank you, Richard. We asked committee members and all who participate to commit to these standards and support and respect our community. This meeting is being held remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Scituate in accordance with the open meeting law. And so with that, can I get a motion to accept the agenda with maybe a couple of updates on Penny? Maybe she can just talk a little bit more about Mordecai Lincoln, a couple of things going on in the West End. All right, and Brendan has a hand up. Maybe he's not unmuted.
Hi, Jakey. Yes, you come to the meeting.
Thank you.
Good kitty. Yes, don't bite.
Okay.
No,
So
don't bite.
with that, can I get a motion to accept that?
I make a motion, we accept the agenda with the add-on. Some issues up the West End and Mordecai Lincoln update.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Doug. All in favor, Richard?
Sure.
And Jen? Did you say Jen's not on tonight? Okay, sorry. Andy?
Yeah, she's not on.
Yes.
And Brendan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. So at 8 Westgate Lane, the applicants requested to continue this again to October 23rd. Any particular reason, Amy?
They're revising plans.
Oh, recently, Bill. Okay, can I make a motion, Frank?
Yes, please.
I make a motion, we continue 8 Westgate to October 23rd.
Okay.
I'll
We have a second from Doug. All in favor, Richard?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
And Frank, yes, thank you. 74 and 74C Glades Road. That applicant has also requested a continuance to October 2nd. That's from their attorney. So
Make a motion.
has this gone on for very long? I mean, this is one that I would be concerned that people started to lose track of.
This
Amy.
one really hasn't. It didn't burn down that long ago.
Well,
those are the ones that burnt down.
I know where it is. I just want to make sure that, I mean, sometimes these get continued too often, then the people that are interested kind of
lose interest.
And the next one down, 74B, is the same
right.
area.
Yeah.
But this is, Amy, do you think this is a pretty good date for these guys? Do you think they're ready to go? I just wonder if, I just don't know if we should be asking them to re-advertise.
On this one, I think we're still within that window below 6 meetings.
Okay.
Oh, definitely.
That's all right. Okay, so we have a motion to continue 74 and 74C, and when you do 74B Glades Road to
October 7th.
October
Second.
2nd.
Next Monday.
Oh. Jeez.
So that's a
Oh, I'll make
motion.
a motion, we continue 70 and 74C Glades Road to October 2nd. Can I do 74B too?
Yes, please.
And 74B Glades Road.
I'll
all
second
to
that.
October 2nd.
That's from Richard.
Yeah.
All in favor? Doug,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. You know what's throwing me off? I'm thinking that Jen is on because Amy's on the screen. So 70 Glades Road on September 25th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Situate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Situate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Robert and Ann Plunkett for work related to a raise and rebuild of a single-family dwelling at location 70 Glades Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the meetings available on the agenda posted on the town website. And we have Greg Morris or someone from Morse Engineering.
I saw him on a few minutes ago.
Yes, this is Greg Morse.
Good evening.
Good evening. For the record, Greg Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering, representing the property owner, Robert and Ann Plunkett at 70 Glades Road. As was just read into the record, this is a notice of intent associated with the rebuild of a single-family home at that property. This is one of the homes that was destroyed by fire last spring. The existing site is approximately 4,644 square feet in size. Looking at the plan here, Glades Road is toward the bottom of the page. The Atlantic Ocean and the beach is at the top of the page. To the north and south were abutting residences on either side of the lot line. Starting at the Atlantic Ocean at the top of the page, as you move landward toward the house, you're on coastal beach until you get to a concrete seawall that's shown. And then as you move landward from the concrete seawall, it's considered dune. The site is bisected by FEMA floodplain, approximately 30 feet behind the seawall, and going toward the ocean is a velocity zone, a VE at 19. From that velocity zone toward Glades Road at the bottom of the page is an AE zone at elevation 15. The existing home that was there was a wood structured home. It had a gravel driveway off of Glades Road. It had a septic system underneath that driveway. The home was destroyed in its entirety. The proposal here is to construct a new home in its place. The new home is depicted by the bold black rectangular line that you see. It would be elevated on a timber pile foundation. We submitted a full set of structural drawings with the pile layouts. The new home, the first floor elevation is elevated at 18.1, while the floodplain is at elevation 15. We kept the home outside of the velocity zone so that it's in the AE zone only. Off the east end of the home on the beach side, we are constructing a freestanding deck. That deck would also be on timber piles, allows for the open and free movement of water or sand underneath the deck. It extends approximately 10 feet closer to the seawall than the previous deck that was in that location. That area used to be a lawn surface if you look at the aerial photos prior to the fire. We're installing a new septic tank. The new septic tank goes under the front of the house. From that new septic tank, we would reconnect into the existing leaching field. The leaching field is located under the gravel driveway at the front of the site. The gravel driveway and leaching field, remain intact. The gravel might be replaced as the project gets finished, but the driveway stays in the same location. And the leaching field under it is intact and remains in the same location. As I stated, we submitted the pile plans. We submitted a set of the proposed FEMA certificate documenting compliance with NFIP requirements for building code. Around the limit of work is a mulch sock depicting the limit of work and erosion controls. The DEP had no comments on this project and the Zoning Board of Appeals unanimously approved it. I turn it over to you for questions or comments.
Okay, thank you. Amy, you want to go off first, please?
Okay, sure. Yeah, so the site is beach, coastal dune, land subject to coastal storm flowage. The house did burn down last late winter, spring, unfortunately. And so I mean, one thing is, the house is gonna go back up on driven piles. So that's good. It does seem like it's a fairly decent expansion of the property. Good that the open deck is separate in the V zone. I think they need to do that by building code. It's a 3-bedroom. That doesn't look like they're proposing to expand the number of bedrooms. You'd probably I don't know, we did get the structural plans today, which hopefully you did get copies of those to look at. DEP didn't have any comments. Board of Health has not approved anything for this project or reviewed anything for this project yet. But I would say that it's something that you eventually can condition. A project would not be looking for finished work under the BFE. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Who wants to, fortunately, this is, I would have gone for Jen first here tonight. Doug?
Sure. So I got a couple questions, Greg. By looking at the plan, I'm looking at the existing dwelling and then counting 1, 2, 3, 4 covered porches, and then looks like a little bump out there that says, does that say second story on it?
Yes, it does. Yep.
So just kind of mentally at putting all those things together like a puzzle, it looks like the roof line, if you just counted all the roof, the impervious roof area, that compared to what was there and what you're proposing now, there's not really much of a substantial change or increase. It looks like it would be pretty small. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, I didn't run the numbers for covered roof area because there's not a lot coverage requirement, but it is very close because of the covered porches that went around the existing primary dwelling before. It would be very close.
Right. So it's like I mean, the living area has changed, but only because it would be enclosed and heated, I would presume, and as opposed to the porches. But so the only thing that kind of stands out to me that expands more is the deck that goes out into the V zone, whereas it was almost not in the V zone originally. And then the other question I had is, you have a note on there that says the existing septic system is to be inspected for structural integrity. Do we need to include anything? If you do that, instruct and find that there's something that needs to be placed, do we need to be including that in the notice of intent?
I think we'd have to come back to you at that point if there was something to be replaced. It is a crushed stone and pipe system. We don't feel that it was compromised at all with any of the equipment that was out there doing the earthwork so far. Nothing tells me that it's been compromised at all. So I think we're going to be able to just reconnect back into the leaching trenches that are there.
Okay, so you're saying like if we should, all right, so we'll just leave that as a note, and then if you did have to replace those trenches, you'd have to revisit
Yes.
for an amendment or something.
Yes.
Or minor modification. I mean, they brought it to our
Minor
attention, Doug,
modification.
and if it's just a repair, if they feel like a pipe has gotten crushed, would that be something that you'd use a camera on, Greg, or?
So when the distribution box gets opened up, they would, either snake the line just to make sure that it's still intact or camera the line. Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's my question. Thanks.
Thank you. Andy?
I don't have questions, I guess. I mean, it's a sizable increase. And I get those sizable increases as proposed in that area are adding up. So it's going to be well developed. But I guess it's mostly is covering we're going where the covered porches are. I guess my comment would be I assume it's the same owner. It's a house that had a lot of covered porch and outdoor space. And I think if they build this house as is, I don't know that the commission would be inclined later to give any more covered porch or any expansion on this footprint. So I guess my comment would just be ensuring that the applicant wants to kind of build this as it is and doesn't plan to add in more covered spaces or outdoor spaces later, because it's a pretty large increase as it is. So that's, I guess, my comment.
Okay. Brendan?
Yeah, my comments are pretty much the same as Andy's, so I'll just go with what he said. I have the exact same thoughts, so that's all.
Thank you. Richard?
Nothing new that hasn't been asked.
Okay. Penny?
The day of beach cottages is gone. So built up down there. But I don't have any comment. I'm sad, but I don't own the property. Good luck to him. Nothing else, Frank.
Okay. Anybody in the audience on this one? Did we had a letter, didn't we, from
Yeah, we did.
someone that couldn't be at the meeting this evening?
Yeah,
The letter actually was regarding the other projects, but I think it applies, the same principle applies to this project. It's right next door.
Did all of you see that?
Yep. I read it.
Okay. I think that it kind of mirrors what Penny's saying. People are just genuinely concerned about this area and these expansions. Do we have anybody in the audience to speak to this?
Seeing none.
Okay, so like Doug was saying, when you look at this, you look at the footprint of we do have somebody, Carol Tremblay. If you want to unmute her. And when you come on, if you just state your name and your address, please.
Yes, this is actually Robert Tremblay, 71 Blaze Road. And I just want to, I don't want to belabor this point, but the issue of the increased size of these buildings in this very restricted area. And to point out that this area is actually part of what is on the Massachusetts Registry of Barrier Beaches because of the marsh on the other side. And every guideline in the state of Massachusetts that addresses this really discourages increased building on barrier beaches. And the comment was made by one of the board members that taken in the aggregate, this is quite a bit of construction. And living across the street, I can tell you that it is. And I don't know how to reconcile this at this point.
He's gone.
Okay. Mr. Tremblay, did you attend any of the ZBA meetings?
I did.
Okay.
I did. And I have to tell you, quite honestly, I addressed the question because my understanding from looking at the zoning bylaws was that reconstruction of buildings on previously non-conforming lots, the guidelines called for no more than a 20% increase in the size of the structure. And yet apparently they have the ability to ignore that if in their judgment, the property or the building does not increase the degree of nonconformity, and they look strictly at the setbacks and the height restriction, and is in keeping with the neighborhood. And that's the part that I took great issue with. And I made a comment, but it just didn't go anywhere.
So we, the commission obviously has these concerns as well, and we, there's other boards or commissions that deal with it. It was Board of Health looking at the septic system, or the ZBA looking at the structures, and we really don't weigh in on people's architecture or things like that. Is the foundation compliant? Is the disturbance similar? The area of land, that's covered. I think Doug Alberg talked about the area of that's like impervious or already roof areas. So when you first look at this and you see the outline of the existing home, it was within all these wraparound porches, which which did have roof area, and so and unfortunately, there was already quite a bit of coverage on this piece of property, which is something the commission looks at as well. If there wasn't as much roof area, then and that's something we brought up on those other sites where they had much larger covered porches. On this particular project, there's a deck expansion. I do wonder, this deck, Amy, going out into the V zone. And I know we have decks in V zones, but there's not been any structure in that V zone before. Is there any regulation? Again, we do
No.
allow, we have decks, and when people elevate their home, the difficulty is that now they're not down on the sand. Their living space is up 8 or 10 feet in the air. And so they're looking to have that deck area also be at that elevation, as opposed to going back down to the beach. And that's sort of the logic of people with their decks. I think.
Yeah,
Is it-
Frank, the distinction is that the house is the structure
Right,
and the deck is separate, so it can be considered an accessory structure.
right.
And so if it's accessory to the main structure, the same rules don't apply. That's
Mhm.
how he's calling it out as detached. So it's similar to that Julian Street project. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep. But I mean but the logic of having these decks is that reason that they can people can actually be at the elevation of their first floor. Just taking a couple more minutes to look at this plan. Can
Well, have
we,
you had a chance to look at the structural plans on this, Frank? Because they just did come in today.
I have not,
This is Greg, if I could.
you want to let Greg speak to that?
I just wanted to clarify something. This property is not considered barrier beach by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. There is a listing of barrier beaches, and Barrier Beach does start further down on Glades Road, but this is not considered barrier beach at this location.
I thought it was not.
Amy, what did you say about the Board of Health on this one? Where do we stand with the Board of Health?
Yeah, the
They-
Board of Health has not reviewed or commented on this, so they haven't seen anything. And this may not be technically in the inventory of barrier beaches on the GIS map, but it's beach. If it's coastal dune, it's beach, so.
There's a strong distinction though with a barrier beach, and I want to be clear that this is not a mapped barrier beach. I agree with you that it's a dune 100%. The Board of Health, they weren't reviewing this as an entirely new septic system because it's not. It's what's considered a component replacement. We're replacing an existing tank with a new tank. I'm glad to file that application with them now, but that's not a full-blown septic review.
Got it. All right. Can we, in the orders to Andy's, I think it was Andy's point, Brendan, that can the orders be written so that no roof structure could eventually be built over that deck, Amy?
Oh. man.
Well, yeah, I mean, because that's the whole part of it. It's deck is accessory to the structure, so it can't be attached to the house because then it wouldn't be.
But can we put
Accessory.
in our orders that no roof
roof.
structure would be built over that deck?
We can put it in for sure, yep. And just like it should be noted about the, so the septic review is gonna be tied to the number of bedrooms. And also whether or not they're gonna be working on the septic system, but like when I was going back and forth with Board of Health, this is a 3-bedroom, so we haven't seen the architecturals for this, but if they want to increase the bedrooms, then that would be a change, and I don't think that that's something that they can get on a beach, so.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Do we have anybody else that wants to speak to this one? Okay, anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to close.
That's Penny. Richard,
All right, I'll second it.
Doug,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay. Thank you,
Thank you. Have a good night.
too. Opposite 208, 286 Central Ave. Applicant is Jan Willis Realty Trust, William Papastratus. So let me open this on September 25th, 2020. It's 3 at 6 p.m. The Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Jan Willis Realty Trust for work related to constructing and maintaining a pier and dock at location opposite 281 to 286 Central Ave in Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the meeting is available on the agenda posted on the town website.
So Frank, I unmuted, Jeff DeLisi, the attorney,
Why?
because he had his hand up and,
Okay,
I'm pretty sure he's representing this client.
sure.
And then also Pat Brennan and Kevin McGuire.
Yep.
Who, Kevin's the engineer.
Okay. So
So-
who wants to start?
Well, Jeff, for some reason, like, I unmuted him. He was unmuted, but now,
Thank you. Sorry about that, Amy.
okay.
All right, great.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. Happy to be here tonight. I'm here sitting in my office with Mr. Papastratus, who's the owner of the property. And we have Kevin McGuire and Pat Brennan on a separate call, I think also in a room together. And I'm just going to let them present their plan because this is from my perspective, pretty much a straight up float dock system footbridge scenario that we commonly see out there. And then if you guys feel you want to get my input further, I suppose you could just ask.
Okay,
Okay, so
thank you.
or Kevin.
No.
Hi, this is Pat Brennan, 49 Tupelo Road in Marshfield, and Kevin McGuire is here with me. I'm providing oversight on the project. Kevin's actually the design engineer on it, so I'll let Kevin go through the plan for you. Okay, hi, Kevin McGuire, 4 Milton Street, Hammerock. Is there any chance that you can orientate that plan so it's off to the right, so it's going straight up and down? There you go. There you go. Can you start at the very top? That's excellent. Can you get up to the top? If you start right up at the very top of the plan.
There we go.
There you go. All right. We brought the certified mailings over to you, Amy, on September 19th. I hope everything was in order with them. And we also had Mr. Papastratus's affidavit that he did send out to the abutters from the list that was certified by the assessor. So I hope that's in order. This particular property, as well as other property in Hammerock, is owned by the Papastratus family since 1972. It's been under this particular realty trust since 1985, and the present trustee is Bill Papastratus, and he's the applicant. The purpose of this project is to provide access to the use of the river, which is common in this area down in Hammerock. If I could bring your attention to the site plan up at the very top left, you'll see kind of a general oval plan, and it shows the area. It also shows the pier in red, and then you'll see a lot of yellowing. The yellowing is for the benefit of the harbor master. He's adamant that any new structures don't protrude any further out into the river than the abutting floats. There's only one existing abutting float, and as you look at the plan off to the right, and that's Duffy's float on Central Ave. There is a Chapter 91 license for a float, a pier and a float that was constructed a few years back, but it's no longer there. But the line, you can see the yellow line drawn between those floats, and you can see where the red is for our particular float. So he's pretty, he was satisfied with that. He did pay a site visit in, I think it was in April, and he didn't have a problem with our float locations. It was all staked out with PVC pipes in relation to the channel or the mooring blocks that were out there. This smaller plan also, it also directs your attention to the larger plan that's below. So if we could kind of move on down to that larger plan. And that's called subplan A. We've kind of developed a color scheme for the plans, so it'd be easier to read, and showing that the structure and the floats are in red. The existing floats are up top are in yellow. The roads and property entrances in the channel are in brown, and the property lines are in green. So that kind of give you an idea of the colors that we have there. I'd like to continue with the conversation that we had with the harbor master. As I mentioned, we have quite a bit of communication going back and forth with him. So at this point, he is satisfied with the design that we have come up with. If I could get off the plan a little bit and go on to the cover letter. It references the letter that we did send to the harbor master, giving him a copy of the notice of intent and also attachment A, which explains the resource areas and the amount of elevated structure over particular resource areas and the actual area that the piles are in the resource areas. We've also notified, as required, the shellfish constables, both fisheries marine fisheries and the endangered species fisheries, the state and federal flood insurance programs, and the Scituate Waterways Committee. Also on the cover letter, as we continue on, we've got proof of payment to the town and also to the state. And we know the state got their money because they did issue a file number for the project. Also, we referenced in the letter is the two waivers that we've submitted for the membership: the FEMA rate map, USGS locust map, the shellfish map, seagrass map, and I mentioned the National Endangered Species map, property deed, and also some photos. You could, if you take a pic of those photos, they're kind of showing the project as it's been staked out. Okay, getting back to the plan, as we start down the structure, with the plan, the actual first ramp is about 125 feet from Central Ave, and we start going up onto the ramp. We start going up on a ramp to 3 feet wide and about 10 feet long, and it goes along to a 4 foot wide by a 260 foot long pier. A short distance along the pier to the right is a small deck. It's 5 feet by 5 feet, and that's for storing small walking carts so people can come in and load their gear onto those carts and then take them down to the boats. As you continue along the pier, you'll see a line cutting across the pier. And these lines, there's several of them. These lines are labeled like A-A, G-G, C-C, etc. And those are cross sections or profiles of what the pier looks like at these different locations. The profile basically is if you're standing off at a distance and looked at the pier ground level, you'd see what they look like. The railings, the decking, and the piles supporting them. The particular sections that are referenced on the pier as we go along are off to the right. You'll see those sections CC, AA, BB, so forth. You'll also note along the left side of the plan, close to the margin, are the resource areas. And they will tell you what part of the pier and floats are actually crossing over or on those particular resource areas. Those resource areas are also identified in the notice of intent, and attached to the notice of intent is the attachment A. Attachment A gives you the particular size of the areas that are being affected by the pier. This particular project, we have not used this. Please stop me as I'm going along here if you have any questions. But this particular project, where we haven't in the past, they're going to ask for construction mats. And those are mats that are detailed pretty much in attachment A, and they're placed on the marsh grass. So the excavator or the crawler can get out and whack those piles in. It'd be so much faster using that method, using those construction mats, as opposed to the typical method where they have a tripod set up on the marsh and each individual pile is driven in by a drop hammer or a steam hammer. The reason we're using them now is because the Army Corps of Engineers new regulation allowed them as a general permit as opposed to an individual permit. An individual permit is quite a bit different in trying to obtain permission for them as a general permit. So that's why we're using it this particular time. Continuing along Pier 1, about halfway out is the black line. And there are little perpendicular lines. You following me? See the black line going along? And there's lines perpendicular to it with arrows. That's the beginning of where the Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program areas of concern. And it goes from there all the way out into the river. We've notified the division of that particular division of marine fisheries, and they got back to us and said that what they call a take, the take we were doing, is minimal and will not have any impact on the particular resources or rare species that are out in the river at that location. Getting back to the pier, at the end of Pier 1, we did the whole 260 feet. At the end of it is a deck. It's 12 by 14. And from the deck, a second pier goes out, which is 4 feet wide by 160 feet wide, which is mostly over the mud flats. At the end of the pier is a 3-foot by 32-foot ramp going down to a main 10-foot by 14-foot float. And then there's five 8 by 20 connector floats. We intend to equip those floats with first aid kit, 2 fire extinguishers, and 3 power panels. At this point, if you're standing down at that area, you get a good look at the relationship that the float has with the river and with the channel and with the moorings. And I'm going to summarize this whole thing. And again, this is in attachment A also. It's a large structure, a long structure. It's not large, it's a long structure. And the actual in the ground, including the 2 posts, there are 2 posts, that most of these are piles. If you look at those sections, you will see the different size piles. They go from 8 inches to 10 inches to 12 inches. And at the beginning of this pier, if one wanted to use posts rather than piles, we have a section showing that. When we did the calculations, when we were going to be hammering these piles into the ground, we used 12-inch piles to use for the calculations, even though they might be 8 inches or 10 inches. That's just to simplify the math on it, which would be the very maximum amount of alteration in the ground. So from the structure itself, that's elevated, it's about 2,000 square feet, and floating, it's about 950 square feet. In the ground penetration is about 49 square feet. So it's very, very little penetration, very, very little alteration of any of those resource areas. Again, this dock is intended for private use, but because of this location, it's an ideal area that in case something happens out in the river, the public safety benefit for boaters or swimmers in trouble or needing assistance, it would provide an ideal location for them, and for emergency personnel that may need to service somebody out there because it has direct access. It's the first place once you get through the mouth of the river that has access to the mainland. So in a nutshell, that's about it. Got all that? Did you hang up?
Just to add just a few things. We're planning on using Paul Armstrong as our contractor. And overall, this site is probably about 3.5 acres of area, but a small portion of that is upland. It actually consists of 29 land court land lots, which have all merged into a single parcel. And we did previously obtain relief from the Board of Appeals for this system as well.
Okay. You know, I had I don't know if Doug, if anybody else tried to open those files. Doug, did you have good luck opening those?
Open the letter.
Yeah.
You talking about the PDF files?
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at them on the screen that Jen has up there, but when I tried to open them,
For some reason we couldn't.
Oh, we have a link.
Yeah.
This is.
But anyway, Richard, why don't you
Yeah, I'm able to open them.
Amy, you want to start out here? Sorry, Doug.
All right, well, so I mean, it's a lot, right? But I do agree that, that it's pretty typical of a pier that you would condition under a set of orders. This one's particularly long, but, other than that, and it's also like all, all the way out the end of Central, right before the cliff. So it goes over, good deal of coastal dune and on a barrier beach, salt marsh. Let's see, DEP's comments, were pretty straightforward about how a lot of this review is also going to be covered by the Chapter 91 licensing and Army Corps of Engineers. So that's all, where the bulk of the review of this is also centered. We did get comments from Fish and Wildlife today. Hopefully you had a chance to read that letter that came in late today. They did have comments about how they were unable to really take a good look at these plans due to the imaging of the scan, the low quality. They thought that they weren't really able to give it a good review, but their comments did come in about height, possibly some height comments off the salt marsh, the sizing of the decks and the floats. Let's see. Other things that have come up on piers like this in these locations that we've had as conditions are with respect to not having any part of the structure be in the town right away. And I know that this particular area, portion of Hummerock is where the town does maintain those roadways, because this area of Central gets backed up by a lot of flooding that comes in from the river on the high tides, especially in the high moon tides. And so the water needs to clear out so that it doesn't back up the whole street. So that would be flood control and storm damage concerns that we might have there. We've been looking for, I guess, questions about parking. If this is a large use float system, is there parking that we should be asking about? Like, I'm not sure how people are going to access, like that type of thing. Hopefully they're not going to be parking out there. Yeah, no permanent ramps in the town right away. Let's see. Lighting. That was another thing that you guys have been batting around lately, not having permanent lighting going out on these structures. Stops at the bottom of the floats. We have been writing conditions to allow construction mats to be used under with the COA general permit. I guess I was wondering what the ZBA, why did they go to the ZBA? Just out of curiosity, what relief did they get there?
Yeah, the relief was a special permit, Amy. There are overlay zoning districts here that only allow certain uses. In this particular overlay zoning district, the use that required a special permit was the use of the property for footbridges and walkways. So that's what we needed relief from, essentially.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, and then did I already mention this one about the mitigation fees that you've been asking for on piers? So we've also been getting that too as a condition. So yeah, those are summary of comments that I had.
Okay, thank you. Richard?
Yeah, I got a few things. Question, the floats at the very end in the river, are those to be removed? Or I would suggest they be removed in the winter. I wanted to make sure that that would be the case. That's one. I'll just go through these. Number two, is there going to be a gate to limit access from Central Ave to this as it is private? And if so, gate is private, how does that therefore help in an emergency? Especially if those houses perhaps are not occupied across the street, and especially in winter. Number three, absolutely what Amy said is very appropriate. The flood control or storm control at that end of Central Ave is pretty renowned for having rocks coming over from the ocean, blocking the road, and also from the river flooding up. And DPW, unfortunately, at times does put rocks on both sides of the road, although they're not supposed to. They're supposed to keep it on the right. But how is that going to be accounted for? So that's a start of the questions I have. I'm not against this at all, but I think these are things that have to be covered.
Thanks, Richard. Just briefly, if I can respond.
Sure.
Yes, we would be removing the floats in the winter. Yes, since this is a private system not open to the public, generally there will be a gate, and what we plan on doing is using a keypad to operate the gate, and we're happy to agree to a condition to provide that code to the fire department in the event that there's some emergency that they need to access. And then I missed your question on the overwash, Richard. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. What I'm getting at is not so much in the last couple of years, but frequently there is a great deal of overwash from both sides, from both the ocean, which has at times totally blocked the street, and from the river as well. And perhaps not directly your concern, but many times rocks actually block the riverside of the road when they're displaced from the road in order to keep it clear. So that becomes your issue then, unfortunately. Whether I agree with that doesn't matter. And so how is that going to be taken care of?
I think that we probably can, I don't want to just give an answer because I think one is warranted. I think we'll put a little thought into that, Bill, and maybe construct a plan to deal with that. That's probably the best I can say at the moment.
Okay, appreciate it.
Yep.
Frank, that's it for now.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Brendan? There's a lot on this plan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And don't feel like you can ask something, you can listen, you can chime back in. There's
I'll
a lot
probably
going
gonna
on
go chime back in. I'm sorry.
Okay,
So
that's
for
fine.
now.
Just briefly, as Amy mentioned, or she alluded, and same with Richard, is there are actually 3 areas of access into the property from Central Avenue that have kind of been utilized by the town in creating these areas where water could flow through.
Right.
One on one of the private streets to the left, and another on the private street to the right, and then one right in the center of the property. And I just wanted to just point that out if it wasn't obvious, because there is a lot going on in the plan here.
Thank you.
Yep.
Frank, just to make sure anybody who's watching is clear, the streets that Jeff is alluding to are all paper streets.
They don't exist.
That's right.
I
They
have
were
some,
mapped out way back in the 30s, but they don't
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah,
and I have some photos. I'm not sure I have, you care to see them, or I don't have any privileges to share my screen, but if you wanted to see what this looks like, I'm happy to show you on the screen.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Penny?
Yeah, I did read the letter we got today, and I think, I don't know if it's been shared with the applicant, but those concerns need to be met before I could make a decision on it. So I really don't have any questions. But I have concerns that what's in the letter that we received today about the size of the floats, they're not happy about that. And I just think those concerns need to be met by the expert. From the experts are telling these people what they'd like to see. That's it for me.
Okay. Andy?
Yeah, I think I reviewed the letter too, and the two things that stood out to me. One was that, we'd want to condition this with a 1.5 to 1 height to width ratio, and
Yeah.
I think Fish and Wildlife pointed out that's not clear on this plan if it meets that. So like we'd want, hopefully it does, but we'd want to clarify that, I think. Then before reading the letter, the 114 foot long float jumped out to me, and it seems to have jumped out to them too, if I'm reading the plan in that dimension correctly. So it feels like that float may need to be minimized.
Okay. Doug?
Well, yeah, they both kind of jumped on that letter too, because I thought the statement was made that DMF didn't have any, or made the statement that there was no adverse impact. And the way I read the letter is they have stated that
Yeah.
there is quite a bit of impact, including the use of the pressure treated post, which I thought that's what we always used, but they are,
Well, there were two letters, Doug. One
Yeah.
was about the take of the species,
Hmm.
and the other one looked at it from the other point of view, the second letter.
okay. This one it was dated September 25th, so it's today.
Yeah, today's.
Yeah,
letter.
that's the one we're talking about, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that the way I read that is they have lots of concerns about it, about shellfish and wildlife.
Yeah,
So
so
I-
we were provided with a copy of the letter, sure, at least I was shortly before the meeting, so we'll
Yeah.
look into that, but I did read the letter, and I want to say that there were maybe 6 or 7 bullet points of issues or concerns that were raised. And the first 2 or 3 appeared to be something that kind of fall under the general category of, well, that happens in every single pier or dock situation that you could possibly imagine when you have to put a walking bridge up and drive piles into this area, you're going to have some form of disturbance. So I'm not sure how we could properly address that, but we'll take a look at it because we obviously haven't had much time to think about it.
Okay, thank you. Who have I not? I think I've got to everybody, right? Do we have anybody in the audience? I see
Yeah,
one
there's
hand.
Ron Conti. I'm gonna unmute.
Hello, this is Ron Conti. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, can you give us your address, please, Mr. Conti?
I'm a co-owner at 282 Central.
Okay,
So I have a couple comments. One is I sat in on the Zoning Board of Appeals, and it was my understanding, unless something has changed, that there was a requirement for 5 parking spots representing 1 for each slip that was being proposed. So I don't know if that has changed, or if that was communicated to the Conservation Commission. It's number one. So towards that, I like to comment on the parking, and that the drainage channels that are present alongside the paper streets, and I do have a picture if I can share my screen.
We can't do that. So
Okay. There are two drainage channels that were put in by the town years ago to accommodate the washover on winter storms. And on either side of those, they're elevated about 2 to 4 feet. And it's very soft. So I'm concerned about the parking on that area in the access. Most piers on the street, and there are quite a few, are usually owned either by an abutting or a homeowner across the street. So there's plenty of parking available. But in this case, that is not the case with this project. So the parking, and I've been told that, if someone parks on my property, just call the police. They'll come over, they'll tow the car. That's fine. But how about the parking on that area? Recent high tides, if I read the stakes correctly, on the high tides in August and September, that stake where I believe the landing is supposed to be will be underwater. So as we all know, the tides are getting higher. In the August tides in particular, which I believe everybody should know that they tend to be higher than the July tides, are almost touching the street. So I'm be concerned about where are people going to park, and the road's narrow enough, and if they start parking on the side where the no parking sign is, they'll be obstructing traffic and the ability of first responders to get down the street, particularly on the holidays, in Labor Day, Memorial Day, and 4th of July, which I believe we all know tend to be very crowded.
sure.
So just so everyone knows, my dad bought the property in 1964 and turned it over to his sons. I'm one of them. My brothers are the co-owners in 2006, and we've been there since that time.
When you say the property,
282 Central.
okay, so your home.
Yeah,
You're
it's
not
not a home, it's a
referring to
summer
this-
house.
You're not referring to this property. You're referring to your property.
Our property across the street, correct?
Okay, thank you.
So it's not like we just acquired 282 Central, and we've been there for quite a long time. But
Okay.
and the big concern is the parking.
Okay, thank you.
And that's it.
Thank you. To anybody, Jeff or Pat?
Yeah. Yeah, let
sorry.
me, sure. Thank you, Frank. Mr. Conti brings up a good point. We spoke to the zoning board about when we went to the zoning board about the project. The initial plan was to not have parking at the property and to basically have drop-offs only. And what occurred was the ZBA felt that their regulations required parking. And so the zoning decision does not, and I actually mentioned to the board, I'm concerned about that particular issue with conservation. And we're not going to be proposing any impervious area out there because we wouldn't be able to do it. And so they said, well, it's okay, just make sure that there's enough space on this property to have 5 cars if necessary, 1 for each slip. So I think Kevin and Pat can talk about it, but there's area up front that is actually the area that's the center cut into the property, which the town already drives its trucks over, is the area where we anticipated, should there be a need, we would put cars there. And there is no plan to have any delineation of a parking area, so to speak, or striping. It's private property and so forth. So that was the plan as far as parking. And then I can't speak to the other items. The stake and the determination of high tide, that's above my pay grade. I would punt that or defer that to Pat probably.
So I just want to be sure we're clear on this. When this went before the ZBA, they told you that parking would be required for this.
They said if conservation has an issue with it, to come back to the ZBA. But that they felt that the zoning bylaw required that this use have parking.
So why haven't you drawn parking on this plan?
Uh, it's gonna be in the, it's, there's no particular parking area. What the board said was just make sure that there's enough space to pull 5 cars in. So the plan was to make sure that there's enough space to pull 5 cars in. And what I was told was that the area that has already been disturbed by the town and you is being utilized by the town is sufficient space for that.
Seems to me like there ought to be something on this plan that shows proposed parking.
We'll be happy to add it.
But should there also be some detail as to how you propose to prepare that area or park in that area? It seems like it's kind of it's pretty vague, and then it's just going to lead to more issues.
Definitely going to lead to more issues.
Definitely.
I might be looking at an old photo there, but is the site elevated with a lot of sand and cobble right now, and then those cutaways like kind of cut in between? In other words, even the contours on the plan shows that maybe
Looks
maybe
like
a
a couple of piles or something.
3 foot high of piles or something like that. So you can't.
Right.
Is that
Doug,
correct? I
They're
mean,
big
so you-
alleys, the
Doug,
going.
those,
can't-
yeah, Doug, those piles do go up and down in the winter. They're much higher than in the summer. They flatten out, but you're right, they're there.
you can't drive on them.
That I think is be the issue with parking.
Yeah, and
Right.
there's no intention to drive on the piles that are piled up along the side. That's certainly, and I think that's your point, Frank, is show us what your plan is.
Right. Okay. I guess Mr. Conti's got his hand. But
Doug,
if
when we submit that to the commission, I'll submit some photos as well so you can see what this is.
Thank you.
Mr. Conti's got his hand up again. We just if we could make sure it's not a repeat of what
Okay, and can I just say too, this might be a good one that for you guys to get some eyes on.
Oh, yeah.
I think so. For sure. Okay, Mr. Conti.
Yeah, this is Ron Conti again. I was gonna propose a site visit. But I would argue that the way the channels are cut, you can only park single file. So cars would have to block each other.
Well, what we're asking for is some sort of plan. So at this point,
We'll go down and look
see
at
what
it.
they come up with. But I think that is a good recommendation. It's I had a chance to look at it briefly a while ago, but certainly would bear that. I still am a little frustrated. Normally I look at these plans on my own device so I can blow stuff up and kind of
Yeah,
zoom in, and I just can't.
I can read it on mine. I wonder what browser are you using? Not to get to technical questions here, but I'm guessing it's probably a browser issue.
I guess Safari thing or something like that. I'm at town hall, so maybe I'll try it at home. See.
Right.
All right. Do we have anybody else? Vicky
Vicky's
Spillane.
still-
Yeah, I'm gonna unmute Vicky.
And again, a name and address, please. Do we
There,
have Vicky?
sorry. Vicky Spillane, 25 Cliff Road in Hummerock.
Good evening.
Good evening. I actually, I also listened into the zoning board meeting over this, basically out of curiosity. And I agree with Ron. The roads, especially even this year, have overflowed, the rocks have come over and had to get cleared. And even if, when they say maintain, or I guess the biggest issue was the parking and the 5 spaces, I have no idea how that will be kept up, because right now, if you go down, the piles of rocks are so high in that area. So, you know, parking, I really don't understand how they would be able to have parking for 1 car, much less 5.
Okay, well, what we've asked them for is a plan, Mrs. Blaine. So right now, there's nothing here. So they need to,
But is it true or not true, and maybe this is just that, you know, those rocks that get moved over on the riverside, I thought those couldn't be touched.
we don't have a plan for the parking. So until we see what they're proposing, it's hard to comment on it. I think that we need to look at the site and they need to show us what they want to have for parking, and then we'll determine whether it's something that we can condition or not.
Okay, so when you say condition, they can move those rocks?
I didn't say that. I said,
Oh, okay.
we,
Well, I guess that's
we
my
need
question.
and I tried to answer your question. We would like to see them show us a plan for their parking. If we look at
Okay.
that plan and determine that it doesn't comply, or it does comply, or whatever, but right now we don't have anything in front of us that shows proposed parking.
Okay. Okay,
that clear?
I believe that was probably, yes, I believe that was probably the biggest issue with all of this, with most of the people around here, is the parking, and then the subsequent, if no parking, then drop-offs and, you know, that kind of thing. Since there is no parking along Central Ave.
No, I
Okay.
think that's why it was discussed with ZBA, and that's why we're asking the question. So,
Right.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
When do we want to continue this to?
How much time do you think you need to come up with for a plan for parking, Jeff, or something to
And we need a site visit, Frank.
and a
And
site visit?
responding to the other comments. And,
Right.
and it would be
Yeah.
good to get maybe a rescan of the drawings with better
Yeah,
quality.
I couldn't read them
sent
very
out.
well. That's true.
Happy to oblige on that. As far as your question, Frank, I think that we're probably gonna need a month. I don't think we would be ready in 2 weeks. I think it'll be tough for us to even get a site visit within 2 weeks.
Sure.
So are they talking October 23rd or the first November meeting?
Kevin and Pat, if you have any comment on that, now's the time. Why don't we just say the 1st November?
I don't even know the date on that.
That'll be the 13th.
Oh, the first meeting in November. All right. We certainly don't need that amount of time to do the tasks that you asked.
Say that again.
I think we should do a site visit while we don't get knocked over by wind. So,
Sure.
maybe that October 20, would you say 23rd?
23rd.
Yeah.
Why don't we say that? And if
What, for the site visit or the continue?
Oh,
Continue
continue
it
on.
till let's
Okay.
continue it to the 23rd, and then
Okay.
we'll see if we can set up a site visit. Maybe Jen can send out some stuff. We'll try to figure out some timing.
Okay,
That might work out.
okay.
All right, or Jeff can propose something as well, whatever.
So I'll make a motion. Yes,
Make a motion to continue, Penny.
yes, I make a motion to continue 280 through 286 Central Ave till October 23rd.
A second,
I'll second it.
all in
Richard.
favor. So that's Richard, all in favor. Doug,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes, thank you. Okay, 49 Seaside Road on September 25th, 6 p.m., the Situate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section
go. Oh, there you go.
30700 Town of Situate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of, well, I'm sorry, I got the wrong. I'll just read it in. We're on the application of Edward and Lynn Gately at 49 Seaside Road for work related to a new deck. And an addition. Butters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the meeting would be available on the agenda posted on the website. You think I could ad lib that better? Sorry.
It's okay, Frank. Existing open deck.
All right, and who do we have?
Paul
Oh,
Maravito,
okay.
Where's Paul been hiding?
That Paul M.
No yawning, Frank.
Paul, you're unmuted.
Where are you, Paul?
He went to bed.
Did you see him on the screen?
Yeah,
No.
he went to bed.
I see
Yeah,
his
he's
name.
on and he's unmuted.
Something keeps blinking here.
Yeah, something yellow on the screen.
Mr. Snow, Mr. Mirabito does have some difficulty sometimes. He usually calls in by phone too. You do have a phone call there, Miss Walkie. If you want, you could ask that individual on 3653 to unmute. I cannot guarantee that's him, but I do know Mr. Mirabito does that frequently.
Thank you, Seth. Thanks.
Okay, I did that.
Paul, can you hear us? By phone?
Oh, boy.
It appears that he's on. We just can't hear him.
On.
Okay, so this is an addition going over an open deck.
The shaded area, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, that looks like a smaller than any of the other decks they have.
And I also see a proposed open deck and stairs on wood piles.
Yeah, there's a couple of things happening on this plan. And there's
Thank you.
structural piers too that you'll see. It's an
Thanks, Jen.
already elevated house on the beach in a coastal dune in Vulcan City Zone.
So the addition is just on the deck. It's not actually the building.
No,
Right.
that the piles are going in the ground.
Okay.
It looks
So
like
they're
they're
expanding the
expanding,
footprint.
they're expanding the deck. The open deck is
Yeah.
probably close to doubling in size. And then there's a small portion of the deck they're gonna enclose as an addition.
Proposed addition on. Oh, okay. Okay.
So the deck's sort of at the back of the, well,
Yeah.
the back of the
I see
house,
that,
I
yeah, I
guess.
see that slanted existing open deck. It's kind of like
Yeah.
a triangular shaped one.
Yes.
It
Yes.
looks like they're going from that side of the house, the opposite of the seaward side, and then squaring that off out there
Right.
Yeah.
over the top of that existing patio.
We got
I think those are stairs.
we
Yeah.
got somebody else
I don't know.
with a hand up. I don't know if that's
Yeah, Dick.
anything related to Paul.
It's probably Dick Rockwood.
Okay.
There you
Okay.
go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Do you have another plan that was submitted? Because this was a prior plan, and they purchased a piece of land further over, and the goal was to extend a wider deck coming out. So this looks like the existing plan,
Oh, no.
okay? Because I believe that addition was already done last year over the existing deck. So we were extending, which here it says existing brick walkway. So there's another plan. Oh, wait a minute, maybe it's still shown here. Yeah, okay. If you look outside of where it says existing walkway, existing brick walk,
Yep,
and then it says
Yep.
corbels, and
cobbles.
then you will see piles.
Yes.
Yes.
That is the
Okay.
new deck.
Oh,
That is the new deck that we're asking for.
oh,
So it goes with those are new stairs coming up at the front of the house, opposite Seaside. Those are new stairs coming up, a new deck, which is about 8 feet wide.
oh.
And then it wraps
Okay.
around and expands the
And
existing
then it
deck.
wraps around to that exterior line
Right.
where the little arrow is where that arrow is pointing. That is the proposed deck.
So this proposed addition, Dick, is not part of this?
I thought that was already done, but maybe it wasn't done. I did this plan quite a while ago, so this has been kicking around for a while. That addition was an extension of a dining room, and it was going to be just on the existing deck that was already there. So I tried to call.
And then there's also a proposed covered porch at the back where those stairs are. There's supposed to be a little roofed area at those stairs.
Proposed covered porch.
Proposed area of covered porch.
Oh, okay. Well, that's new to me, but that's fine. He might have discussed this with the owners. I did some work on this for the deck. I mean, over a year ago, and so this must be the stage that it's at right now. So I would say yes, it's the proposed covered porch, the proposed new stairs coming up, and then the deck following that line going all the way around, and with the new stairs going down towards the beach, which is like a 4-foot wide catwalk, basically. So it's going over where it says existing brick walk and cobbles. That's the new deck, is that outline. So I know that's what the scope of the job is.
So
We need
these
a new plan.
there's kind of like some stone walls shown drawn in. Are those new or are they already there?
They're existing. There's existing fireplace,
Yeah.
little patio area there. So we're going right over it with deck because the house is so high. The house had been elevated. This is a new house that was built years ago. Probably 10 or 12 years ago, I did the house. That's how I got involved with doing this. The little covered porch is new to me from any of my discussions, but I saw this on the docket. I was here for the other ones earlier, so I wanted to hang in to see what was going on. So that is what we're requesting.
Was there any kind of any drawings for the deck itself, piles or framing plan or anything?
Yes.
There's structural plans.
There's a structural.
Do we
plan
have
that should
them?
be-
Yes.
Okay,
Amy.
Okay, there we go.
there you go. So
Oh,
it's
this-
everything you see on the right side, going up to the top with that little angle, and then going out to the stairs, running across the top of that drawing.
Okay.
The angled portion you see was the existing deck.
Yes.
I see.
Okay. Amy? Thanks for jumping on that, Dick.
Yeah, glad I could. So
Yeah,
See if you had
we-
any other questions.
Amy, do you have any comments? Chris?
No, I mean, the requested additions are pretty minimal. And they are, the house is elevated in compliance with NFIP for the beach and the coastal dune. So I think that this is something that you can condition. DEP had no comments.
Okay. Richard?
Yes.
No, I had
No,
some,
okay.
I was gonna have all sorts of problems until this last drawing. Now I've got it. My simple old mind finally figured it out. I'm okay.
Okay. I just worked down the line. Doug?
I just pulled up the structural plans and everything, so digesting those real quickly. Yeah, okay, so it's really all deck they're gonna put out there, and then those two small areas covered. And looking at least on Google Earth, that part of the deck is in fact still proposed. I mean, not the addition where it says addition on existing deck. I believe that is still proposed, so I think that should be included. So I think there was a bump out there before, but now they're adding to it.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like they're adding more to it, so we want to make sure that's included.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it does look like there's more there. When I look at the photo, there's a small bump out, but they're going out another 8 or 10 feet by 12 or something.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, but it's, I mean, it's mostly deck that we're looking at that is being added to it. And they're just kind of squaring it off over the top of that patio that's already impervious. Are they removing any of that? Do you know, Dick? Are they going to remove that to be able to get those piles in, or they somehow building over the top of it? Uh-oh, am I still there?
Go. There you go. Yeah, I was trying to unmute myself. What was the question? I'm sorry, my phone had
So,
rung.
if we go, can we go back to the site plan? So that part of the deck is going, there's an existing patio, brick or concrete or whatever. Are they do you know if they were going to remove that? And the brick walk and stuff like that, or they just
I
kind of
have
built
no
over the
idea
top?
if that's the intent. I would have to check with the owners, but I don't know. I mean, it's there. I don't know how useful it will be. Well, it's under the deck.
Yeah, if it's,
And it's just
I guess,
patio block. I think it's just brick patio blocks, so they could put a pile right through it. I just don't know what their intent was. That's been there for years.
yeah.
I'm
It was
looking at
just,
a picture of it.
And it kind of, maybe because where the shed is, it's the stairs, the shed's elevated, that little existing shed, for bikes and garden tools. So it's probably the way everything lands that they probably wanted to just keep it. I mean, there's a pile right in front of it, but I haven't had any personal conversation with them since last year on this. And that addition up above on the deck is proposed.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I guess my comment was it would improve the pervious nature of the site if that was all removed, and then you have deck
the
above.
deck is all drip through.
No, he's talking about under it. So there's a
under it,
patio that really becomes pretty much useless, including that fireplace, because they can't burn that once they.
No, not that close to the deck.
So it almost like some of that
I would
stuff.
hope not.
They can once,
but I don't know if that. I mean, if it's just a little stone retaining wall, I just don't know if it helps keep it clear. To get into the shed where they park, and a lot of that stuff is there. That existing curbing, it's all just stone. but it's just a way to keep things level for them to, have a place for the stairs to land and everything else. So, I mean,
Well, they
I-
draw,
I-
they park on that currently,
yeah, they do.
so
That's
it,
they,
it
so
must be,
we haven't changed our parking.
all right,
And
so.
like I say, I wouldn't want to say yes, that we're gonna take out that wall. I don't know if it's, I mean, obviously the fireplace isn't gonna get used, whatever it is. It looks small, whatever it is. I haven't been to the site for a while, so this was last summer.
Doug, there's a few photos that are in this packet as well, and it's a small fieldstone little fireplace that probably ought to come out. But then there's that wall is very low. It almost goes into the grade from what I
Mhm.
can see in the picture. And it does look like if you come out that shed, you sort of go on to that patio. If you're coming off the house, you can walk around and back onto the patio. I don't really see that would change much for them other than reduce a little impervious area.
Yeah, that was my
I mean,
only thought around it, that it,
Well, we could ask that they remove a portion of the patio
yeah,
or
well, I
something.
mean, if it's reasonable, it would,
Okay.
yeah, well, I see the stone fireplace, yeah. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know how impervious the brick is. I mean, it's all sitting on sand, so
right,
I don't know that that's that detrimental.
yeah, probably not. All right, well, don't need to belabor that. That was
Okay.
just a thought I had around it, that if it was possible, I guess, if
Mhm.
clean that up, it just would improve a little water flow, that's all.
Mhm.
Okay. Penny,
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Andy,
I have questions based on what's been presented, I guess just procedurally, knowing we've had challenges with, plans that didn't quite match the intent. Do we want to continue this just so we can confirm all, all the up to the minute updates? Or
I
do we
mean,
wanna move forward?
I believe it's all there in front of you, if I may. I don't think there's anything that's going to change, but
I mean, we could certainly, we could, if we decide to close, then we could condition the plan that we have in front of us. It would be,
Yeah, if we condition that one specifically, then there was an alternate plan, they'd have to submit that for a minor
It
modification
said
or
this
something.
was the new one after he looked at it closely. That's what I got.
Yeah,
yeah, if I may,
Revised 9/15, it was only 10 days ago, it was revised, so I would
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it's pretty current.
Yeah.
go ahead, Dick.
well, I was just going to say that was I had spoken to the contractor that was involved, Scott Valcourt, and that we are still asking for that proposed addition. For some reason, I thought it was done a while ago.
Oh,
That's why I didn't want to complicate it. But they never did that. So that is part of the plan. So that was me throwing a curve out at you there, but that he just confirmed it. That was my phone call.
shame on you. We're gonna send you to the corner.
Well, I probably started this 2 years ago, and things go in stages. So
Oh, yeah.
that's why I was trying to remember where we left off.
Well, now I'm really confused because I'm looking at a picture of the house and it looks like that addition is done.
No,
Yeah, I think
there's
that's the
there's a
existing
piece that
bump
jumps
out.
out and then this plan's going to show that it
Yeah.
goes out a little bit more, but
Yeah.
I think what's there is out 6 feet and what we're requesting is 8 feet. And the room's about 15 feet, from the ocean to the, east to west. And it's a dining room and it was just, they wanted to extend it out. So, and then do the catwalk around it. So,
Okay.
and that plan's all stamped and engineered by Rivermore. We'd gone through it.
okay.
Really doesn't change.
Brendan,
Yeah, I'm kind of confused.
Get
I'm sorry. I,
confused?
well,
Thank goodness
had
it's not
I
just
had to,
me.
yeah, I had to miss, I had to, take a quick break. So I might be missed 5 minutes here. So, but yeah, I'm not sure because it does look like there's work being done on it in July. So this is something that was something different.
All right, why don't we continue this till somebody can be on? As I don't
yeah.
want to spend I don't want to spend the evening on this
Mhm.
either.
No.
Thanks for trying to sort that out. Do we have anybody in the audience? Can we continue it to the next
Being
meeting?
no hands.
Well, that's next Monday, Frank.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
we have all the stuff here. We just really would
Yeah.
like
What
some
do we get, what are we continuing it for?
to have
Yeah,
some
I mean-
clarification on just what we're doing here. I
I-
mean,
So you want the size of the addition specifically?
Well, Amy, to me, and I'm not the engineer here, I can't understand what we're really, it seems that there's some confusion as to whether a deck's been done, hasn't been done. This is to me, probably cleared to Doug or to Frank, but it's certainly not to me. I'm confused. So yeah, for me.
We need the engineer that submitted this.
Yeah.
That's all.
I will submit a color-coded version of this if that helps.
That'd be great.
It would.
Okay.
Maybe you can have Paul over, Dick, and the two of you can get on it.
Well, here's the
Together.
thing is,
Well, I
is
don't know. I'm in
Paul isn't-
Colorado right now, so.
yeah, and Paul's not gonna be around for the next meeting either.
I will
So-
be there.
Okay.
So is next Monday okay with you, Dick?
It is okay. I will be there. Yes.
All right, and if we
And
can
you
get
can
just
get
a
us
little
And I will
clarification.
send in a color-coded copy of this, so it's very clear.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, that makes sense.
And
Okay.
some more
will be
photos if
helpful.
need be. Okay?
I just made one if you want to see mine.
All right, let's.
So
all
we're
right.
gonna continue.
Thanks
We're
for
gonna-
trying to sort that out. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion. We continue 49 Seaside Road till October 2nd.
Okay, it's a motion from Penny. Do we have a second
Yep, me, Rich.
from Richard? All in favor? Doug,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay, thank you. Amy, going to give us some updates here.
Yeah, okay, so Frank, you and I, we went to the select board a few weeks ago and also to the advisory committee, and we've got that town meeting article that's
Yeah.
going to be on the fall town meeting. I think it's really just, I think hopefully it actually can be part of the consent agenda because it's pretty straightforward. You know, we're replenishing a depleted fund to maintain some conservation properties. So I think it's pretty straightforward. It shouldn't really elicit much conversation.
What was the final figure, Amy? That
Um,
you asked for?
35.
Okay,
So just, you know, it's that revolving fund where we can maintain out of.
and when we deplete it, we can go back and ask them for 35 more, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
But at
Yay.
another town meeting, so it's just.
Yes, no, I know that, yeah. But
And
we can,
hopefully what we'll do is we'll keep track of what these properties are starting to cost
Yeah.
going forward. And then once we get a handle on what your annual expenses really are, it'll be, you know, maybe we won't have to go in that way and we can just make it as a capital request or something like that, or we'll just, they'll know and they'll be ready to handle it, so.
good.
Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, the town continues to be quite busy with our different town projects that are going on. I know that one of the things that just came up is some meetings that are coming up for the beach nourishment project in North Scituate. So while we're administering that project through the permits that you issued, many years ago before I started for that nourishment project, and that they did just get that funding. So they'll be going out to bid and trying to do a portion of that project that got the funding. But there are organization meetings and stuff like that to try to kick that project off. So that's exciting. And some of the other seawall projects are also gaining some momentum. So that's also exciting.
There is no lack of things to do, that's for sure.
It's always something. All
Okay.
right. Can we go to
Minutes?
minutes? I make a motion, we accept the minutes. We got a bunch here. June 26th, August 7th, August 21st, and September 11th. As written.
Do I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Doug. All in favor, Richard,
Yep.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Thank you. Certificates of compliance, 132 Maple.
Any problems, Amy?
Well, so it's not that I'm calling out any problems on that one right now, but I did want to add it to the agenda just so that if you wanted to discuss it more, or give me direction, maybe that would be good. But so the owners did put in the engineer's C of C request for that project, and we did get second season growing report for mitigation. I don't know how many of you recall, but you did spend quite a bit of energy permitting that cart path into a driveway with
Oh, yeah.
crossings with some culverts, and then some stormwater management to a barn out in the back that was built. And while it does appear that the project seems to be built in substantial compliance, we don't really have the documentation that's clearly demonstrating that the culverts were installed or the stormwater management was installed, like just clear evidence from the plans and photos. So I'm just going to be asking for some additional information on that, I would say.
Could we take a walk out there for Amy?
I have not fully been out there, but we need it in the plans as well.
Yeah.
Did we require an as-built site plan?
Yes.
And you've received that? So Gary, was
but
it
it's
Gary
not-
James was the
Yeah,
engineer
and
on
it's
that?
just, the site plans are not easy to decipher, unfortunately.
Oh, I think we need to take a walk, Amy.
Yeah, that sounds like a good
Yeah.
idea, Penny.
And
I'll
do we
go with ya.
typically require some sort of certification from the engineer as to compliance as well?
Yes.
Okay. And he did that?
Well, he called out quite a few non-conformities, but in the end did stay and say in general, he thinks that it's built in substantial compliance. But just didn't really have the supporting documentation to
Yeah, there
really
was-
show it in what he submitted, so.
What do you think, Frank?
I think if you either Amy can get some additional information from the engineer that she's looking for, and if you want to go out there and take a look at it, that's great. It shouldn't take very long.
No, it shouldn't.
It looks like we have
Oh, no.
Christine Pan's, which is their property, if you want to unmute.
Sure.
Hi, Amy.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Christine, do you just want to state your name and address for the
Oh.
record, please?
Christine Pans. It's reference to 132 Maple Street
Yep.
in Scituate. And I just wanted to comment that, Amy, I did reach out to you and
Several times.
that, and regarding the engineers submitted, and that you said you didn't need any more from him. So I'm a little confused.
Yeah, and then I looked at it more carefully and I figured out that plans didn't show what I needed, Christine, so we're gonna try to make sure that it has everything.
So, you'll,
Asked him several times.
so you'll document that and send that to me in an email?
Yep, we'll let you know what he
What
needs.
your-
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, I think the discussion was
Amy,
that. Sorry, can
I thought you had come out as well.
we,
somebody's
so no,
somebody's
no,
breaking
no.
somebody's breaking up here.
Okay. Forget it.
yes, if Frank, this is Joe.
Okay,
Is that-
hi Joe.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Listen, I've asked several times. I've went to the office. I know you guys are terribly busy. I understand that. But I did make, I live in the Florida Keys. I come up, frequently. I try to do the best I can. I give you guys as much effort as I can to welcome you on the property. I've several times went to Amy's office and begged her to just come and look at the property to see our project, because I'm very proud of it and I spend an awful lot of money doing it. I know you guys are terribly busy doing other stuff, but I really need someone to put the effort in and come and look at what we did.
Okay. I think we said, I think Penny brought it up, Joe, that we would want to see if we could get at least a couple of folks out there to take a look at it. Amy, does it make more sense to look at it first or to get whatever else you need from the engineer? I'm not familiar with what you're missing.
Yeah, no, I'll put an email out to Gary, and the Panzas, just if they can give us more information on the plan with respect to the culverts and the stormwater, just to demonstrate that they're installed the way they were designed. So that's the thing, it's compliance with the as designed plans. And we can get out there and take a look at it.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, if we could, well, let's try to get that so that we can wrap that up. That'd be great. And if I can certainly go there with you, we'll figure that out, and we can reach out to Joe and Christine and see if we can't set up a time that works. All right. Does that make sense?
Sounds good, Frank. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, next thing, Frank, what is
Order
it?
conditions?
Yep, I make a motion, we accept the orders, the amendment for 59 Glades Road.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody want to second that?
Want to just do all of them?
Oh, you want me to do, well, that's an amendment. And then we have the orders of condition for 4 Garfield Street, Lot 6 Elm. And there's another amendment for 0 Central Ave.
No, I think you read that wrong, Penny. It's Lot 6 Elm Street Amendment and then 0 Central Ave.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right, Richard.
First time
Okay.
today.
I'm
Get
getting
that.
old.
So with Richard correcting that, I think he
Yes.
seconded it.
I
Yes.
did.
So all in favor, Doug,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Thank you.
Oh,
Okay.
Richard, thank you.
What else do we have?
We were gonna discuss the West End. You had some issues and
Yeah. So I
More.
see there's a thing there that says signing of documents, and I just signed a pile, and Jen's been so busy here, she just keeps racking up more paperwork for you guys, ladies, to sign. So because there is no lack of things to do, there's another dozen sheets here. So I appreciate everybody trying to figure out timing to do that.
Get over there Wednesday.
Thank you. So I think, Jen, the goals and objectives, did that go out to everybody or to me? Okay, I'll try to work on that so we can get that back out to you folks. And then as Penny was saying, Mordecai Lincoln, I think this town meeting will be important for our funding and a couple of other things. I think there'll also be discussions about the leash law, and
Oh,
it could be a little painful.
it'd be very painful.
But to Penny's point, hopefully whatever the town decides to do with Mordecai Lincoln, we can keep our project going. We also need to get some thoughts together on Border Street. We did meet out there, Jen and Amy and Karen Canfield, and one of the proponents of the project. So we got to get a little time into that at some point soon. And at Mordecai Lincoln, hopefully there'll be some resolution as to what's going to happen with that property, and then from that we can move forward with our area, so we can get a trail in and a place for folks to utilize it. And I did get approached by the new abutter, Penny, who seems a lot more
Yes,
receptive to all this.
yes.
So, and he used to serve on a conservation commission, so that should be helpful.
Yeah, well, I think he's going to understand when we get permission to go forward with the parking lot, that the existing garage is basically gonna block it, except from their second story bedroom, and that at nighttime, nobody's there at nighttime, so there won't be a problem. I think they'll be a good neighbor.
Well, it'd be nice to have someone there that keeps an eye on it as well. So that's great.
Yeah.
And then your chatter about rain gardens before that, I think the one you were referring to is the one at Studley Farm.
No, well, yeah, no, I was just asking a question because it's so beautiful. But then when I look at the one down on Ocean Ave, where Sharon used to live, that's all grown in and it's beautiful. But I just wasn't sure,
Well, it is nice if they could add something to them. It's too bad Toll Brothers didn't want to
yeah,
do a
no,
little bit more with theirs, because when we did the retention area, rain garden, whatever you want to call it, going into Appleton Field, we asked them to make it look more like a wetland. And they do have to be maintained, but they can also become some habitat and stuff. And in the future, when we look at some of these, we should really encourage folks to be more creative and than just have some big pit with some grass growing in the middle of it.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I think the one at Studley Farm looks great. And then the one on Ocean Ave, which is really filled in, and there are trees growing in it. And that's all fine. That is absolutely gorgeous.
As long as it continues to function, though. I mean,
Yes,
that's the other part.
Yes. But I just wasn't really sure, but now I have a better idea. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything to add or want to comment on?
No.
Do we? Oh, no, never mind.
It's 4 more minutes before 8 p.m., Doug, if you want to.
No, I was wondering if
And
there
we're
was
meeting
plan.
next week.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, what I was wondering if there were plans for the Mordecai Lincoln Road parking lot somewhere. I don't know that I've seen
Are
that.
there plans? It's just a sketch right now. I can send you the sketch. What I have had done so far is I have a plan. Just a second, and I'll tell you exactly what I have here.
You asked.
You asked. Now you're gonna hear. Hey, listen. Okay,
I tried to back out of it.
Morse Engineering, they did a very nice plan, and guess what? I can't get into it anymore.
Well, so the short of it is, Doug, that there is a conceptual plan done, and we have the funding approved, all of it approved, but the town administrator is saying wait until the public not the public building, the historic commission, building commission, makes a plan up for restoring the building so that they kind of work together. So they haven't really formalized what they're gonna do. It's under the Historic Commission, as
Yes.
opposed to the Historic Society. And so that article, there's a bunch of different proposals that they're gonna go to the selectmen tomorrow night on and talk to them about what they might do with those properties. And so I think the town administrator is saying, just let's cool our heels a little bit until we're definitive on what we're gonna do with the actual property. And then hopefully the two of them will meld together.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Thanks.
but the property has been staked out and the wetlands have been delineated and the riverfront has been delineated. I have a small thing of those plans. So, yeah.
And Penny will be glad to walk around with you out there if you want to contact her directly.
Been out there, Doug?
Well,
Several times. He's
yeah, I've done some work out there, so I'm just curious about where exactly this is all happening. So
yeah.
Well, I'm going as quick as I'm being allowed to, not as quick as I'd like to.
You know, Penny's not buying green bananas anymore. She'd like to get this going.
Yes, I would.
It's gonna be great.
Well,
It's
I'd
gonna be
like
awesome.
to get, the open space part up and running, because we paid a lot of money for the property. And people that I took out there prior to it going to town meeting were very, very excited about it. And I took Andy out there and he gave me some great ideas about the field. And
7:58.
all right.
I would go visit with Penny. It's worth the trip.
There you go.
Okay.
There you
All
go.
right.
Oh,
We got it.
and you could come see Jake, Doug, because I live
Yeah,
around the corner.
There you go.
Just what I was thinking. Yeah.
All right. Take a motion.
I
Make a
make a
mo-
motion, we adjourn.
That was a second by Richard.
Yep.
All in favor, Doug,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank. Yes. Thanks so much.
See you
Have a
next
good
week.
evening.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night.